Dr. Joseph Stiebrick wrote the DOE Handbook on Moisture Control and appeared in the PBS NOVA program, Can Buildings Make You Sick?
Well, a house is going to be too tight. No, a house can never be too tight. Well, it's not healthy to build a house too tight. Actually, the only way to assure health is to make it tight. What we've learned over the past 100 years is that before you can control air, you must first enclose air. So we need to construct an enclosure so that we can exclude the contaminants that are in the outside environment. We don't want pollens to come in when there's a lot of pollens in the outside air. We don't want smoke to come in when we've got smoke and other contaminants in the outside air. So we want to build tight in order to be able to precisely control or meter the air that we want to bring in. So you build a tight building enclosure without holes, and then you put in controlled holes called windows. Then you get even more sophisticated. You put in a controlled ventilation system. You get to pick a spot where the air outside is likely to be clean. So you don't want to pull it from your garage, you don't want to pull it from your attic, you don't want to pull it from under your slab, you want to pull it from the outside. And secondly, you get to filter that air. Because you know where it's coming from, you get to introduce it to one spot and you get to clean it or filter it. So the ultimate is to build a tight building enclosure with controlled ventilation where you get to pick where the air is coming from, you get to filter it, clean it, and then distribute it. Give me a tight house, controlled ventilation, and operable windows, and I'll give you a healthy house. How we move air around in a building is very important. You need to make sure that the air that you bring in actually gets to the places in the home that you actually live in, like your bedrooms, in your living room, and the duct system supplies that air to every room in the house. Well, the second part is that air actually has to get back to the air conditioning system. If you have air going to a room, you better have air coming back from the room. Well, if you close the door, that interferes with the way that air comes back to the main body of the house. And so it's real important to provide jump ducts that will allow the air to get from the secondary rooms into the main body of the house. Well, what happens if you don't do that? Well, the air goes from a higher pressure to a lower pressure, and it's usually under the baseboard, and the carpet acts like a filter. So those dark carpet stains are not because you have poor housekeeping practices, it's because its mechanical system isn't properly balanced. What else do we want to do? We want to select our materials in such a way that they don't off-gas bad stuff. So we should choose building materials that don't stink so that we don't have to mask them with perfumes. We choose our insulation products carefully. We choose our floor finishing and our paints carefully. We choose our cabinetry carefully. And generally, if it stinks, it's not good.